joining you on the week that apparently there's some big football thing kicking off. You might have heard of it before. Apparently it's called the World Cup. There is a slight issue. I've got a problem I need your help with, right? England's in the finals. That's not the issue. That's not the problem. However, Scotland have made it to the World Cup finals for the first time since France 1998, which is almost as long ago as Baddiel, Skinner and the Lightning Seeds have been singing about 30 years of hurt. So the problem I've got is there's two possible teams available to me to support in the World Cup. One of them is my original homeland, where I spent a lot of time growing up, and the other one is where I've spent a lot of my life since, south of the border. But which one should I support? I know realistically what's going to happen is Scotland are going to go crashing out in the first round, but let's imagine it gets to a point where both teams are in the finals. How do you choose which one to back? I'll leave that one open to you while we enjoy The Cure and Boys Don't Cry on a Wee Natter. The Cure with the title track from, funnily enough, Boys Don't Cry. It's Boys Don't Cry on a Wee Natter, where you have been saying hello. I've got to say good evening to Monica, good evening to Argonath, the same to Paul, Decades Based Radio saying happy Sunday, and as somebody who is sporting apathetic, at least you didn't call it sports ball, we'll give you points for that one, I have no clue, DC. Well, I've still got that problem. Who do I support? Is it going to be Scotland or is it going to be England in the World Cup finals? I'm leaving that decision up to you. I also got to give a shout out to Cheryl, Claire as well on the chat. And if you want a wee shout out, do get in touch. Our line's always open, 07367 85 85 47. I say we. I'm on my own this week because unfortunately Jenny is too busy deep in training for the East Midlands cake eating competition. It's a very serious thing. It takes a lot of skill and effort, so she's just not available tonight. She'll be back next week. And talking about time passing, I can't believe there's been so many weeks since we chatted, but there's been holidays, there's been problems, there's been faults, there's all sorts of things going on, but we're finally back together. And last time we were chatting, I asked you about what you are particularly petty about, and I got this interesting little message from Sandra.
Hello, Mark and Jenny. It's only Sandra here. I'm sorry I made too many comments. I didn't on Mixcloud. I didn't mean to upset or offend you or anybody else. I do apologise. Okay, bye.
Sandra, you have nothing to apologise for. There is no limit on how many messages you can send in or how communicative you are. We don't even require you to get in touch. There's not like a minimum either. So you have nothing to apologise for at all, Sandra. And also in touch with Sam.
It's Sam here. I just wanted to answer this week's question for a wee natter.
Go on.
Which is about things that make me feel petty.
Yes.
So I would say for me, the best answer that I could provide here is when people misplace items or when people have a switch around of furniture or things like this. I've experienced it in shops, in town, and also at home when things are misplaced or switched around or something like that. It makes me feel aggravated. Sometimes it can be nice. You know, change can be both a good thing and a bad thing, but I'm a person of habit. I like to see things, put away after they've been used, or I like to see things look the same as they have done for a long time. But yeah, like I say, some things, in that regard can be, for the better. But I would say for me, it's something that makes me feel petty. I hope that you have a lovely week and I shall speak soon. Bye-bye.
Sam, you're on to something there. It's amazing how somebody moves something on, whether it's your desk at work or something in the house, they just move it and you become completely blind to it. You have no idea where it's gone. And the supermarkets know what they're doing as well. You know when every year or two they decide, we need to completely change the layout. So they go and do it and then they realise, hang on a minute, nobody knows where they're going. So they have staff standing in all the different aisles. They have arrows and signs everywhere saying you need to go here instead of here. Makes me wonder why we bother. And somebody who makes us bother, because she's always very interesting, is Louise.
The thing that I'm most petty about is my vegetarian sweets.
Oh.
In my group of friends and family, I'm the only one who's a vegetarian. So when I get any sweets, I don't share them because they can eat any kind of sweets, but I can't. So I am very petty about that. I hope you have a lovely day. Take care, stay safe, and keep cool. Bye.
I wouldn't even use the word petty there, because if it's one of those things where you can only have one thing, but everyone else can have everything else, yeah, it just feels icky and wrong for other people to go, you know what, we're going to take everything. So I'm on board with you there, Louise, as much as it hurts me to say that the word vegetarian, of course. Here's a real test of your ability to withhold from doing bad things. Did you manage to get through that entire song by Jess Glynn, Hold My Hand, without booking a holiday? If you did, congratulations, well done. As Cheryl points out, oh, how many times did I hear this on the Jet2 plane? If you thought it was bad for you, imagine being the flight attendants or the air crew or anyone that's working on those Jet2 aircraft. They'd be hearing that song over and over and over, not just on that one flight that you're going to your jollies on, but back and forth over and over. Oh, it's got to be horrible, hasn't it? And on a slightly different note, we are touching on the big football event that's happening from next week onwards. It's known as the World Cup. And I've just had a suggestion coming in from Paul saying, you know, I'm English, but I'm now living in Scotland and I'm supporting the Scots. Yeah, okay. I see where you're going with there. I'm not sure, honestly, because I sort of did the opposite of that. I grew up in Scotland. I've come down to England. I've lived in England for a long time. Does that mean I should be supporting England? It's up to you. You're making that decision. And talking about waiting a long time, because it's been a long time since, well, England's won the World Cup or Scotland's even been in it. It turns out there was a new father, ordered a copy of Mother and Baby magazine, as you do when his daughter was 18 months old and his son was about to be born a couple of months later. So, you know, the couple ordered a copy of Mother and Baby magazine to arrive back in 2007. It only just arrived in the post last week. That's like 19 years between this magazine being posted out and arriving in your hand. At that point, you'd be giving it to your kids who are probably going to be having their own kids very soon. It's kind of a bit late at that point. The kids are all grown up, and as the gentleman points out in the news article, they're already off to university. So this got me wondering, off the back of that, and maybe even the football thing as well, what is the longest you have ever waited for something, and was it worth it? I want to hear your stories. It don't have to be big things. It can be little things as well. What is the longest you've ever waited for something, and was it worth it? Do get in touch. Call, text, or WhatsApp. My number is 07367 85 85 47. That's 07367 85 85 47. And while you're getting in touch, it's the Pet Shop Boys with a bit of Dusty Springfield as well, asking a question I ask myself all the time. What have I done to deserve this? It's a wee natter. Hopefully you're having a fantastic Sunday evening. It's kind of mental. I'm not sure whether I should be using that word, but it's kind of crazy to think that we've only got this song because Neil Tennant was such a Dusty Springfield fanboy. It's amazing, isn't it? And also enjoying the song Decades Best Radio, and Monica Erickson saying they enjoy it as well. It's a wee natter. Thanks for joining me this fine Sunday evening. I'm asking you, what's the longest you've waited for something, and was it worth it? Vicky's been on the text saying, the longest I've waited for something is a koala glove puppet. My mum said she would knit for me when I was roughly 8 years old. Okay, that's a good old while ago, I'm guessing. She still has some work to do on it now, and I'm 39 years old. Yeah, I think that one might be joining you in retirement. It'll be well worth it when you do get it, but I think it's still a while to go by the sounds of it. Also in touch, Argonath saying, I waited 40 years to retire, and yes, it's worth it now. With Cheryl also jumping in saying, just over 11 years till retire, and I'm counting down. It almost feels a bit premature for me to count down, but I'm at the point now where I've been in work a good while. I'm still a good while away from retiring, But if I was to go for something like a 30-year mortgage now, I would have to sign a bit of paper to say, I pinky promise I'm going to keep working past state retirement age. So it's still a good while away, but it's kind of worrying that it's starting to creep up as becoming an issue in life now. It's kind of scary, isn't it? Also in touch is Paul saying, not waited a long time for it, but I ordered a tumbler glass advertised on Facebook, embossed with Derby County and the Ram, and came from China. Eagerly opened it, yes, and Newcastle United was written all over it. Oh, I'd claim my money back as you did, Paul, there. You know, you're expecting a proper Rams Derby County glassware, and it has Newcastle United on it. I can see the mistake they make. You know, if you're sitting in that factory in China and you're just banging out, you know, are they both in the Premier? I can't remember what league they're in, but you're banging out, you know, football memorabilia for the English. You're not going to care too much which goes in which box. You're just going to chuck them in. You know, minimum wage. You're just going to crank it out, aren't you? And on that note, we are going to do covers versus originals in just a minute. But before we get there, let's go for something a bit chilled. From America, it's Ventura Highway on a wee natter. Ventura Highway sounds quite idyllic until you hear about lizards in the air, or was it alligator lizards, something like that. It sounds a bit scary when they say that. I'm not sure I want to counter them. And talking about scary, Rachel Zambuco's been in touch saying, Mark, I feel you should support Scotland in the World Cup. And the reason I say it's scary is there's a lot of emojis in that message, and 3 unicorns have turned up. Now, I don't want to say I've upset unicorns in a past life, but if 3 of them are turning up to my door, trouble's about to brew. Covers versus originals. This is a bit of a show where I sit back, relax, and put you in charge of the music. I know it's a huge amount of responsibility, but you get to choose between the cover version of a song and the original version of a song, and make sure the very best choice plays on the wireless. And this week, I'm being a little bit cheeky with the cover versus original as we put Sugar Hill Gang and Rapper's Delight up against Chic and Good Times. Which one plays is entirely down to you, but if you need to hear them, this is what the cover sound, the original sounds like even. The cover, whichever one it is, you'll hear it in a second.
You see, I'm 6'1" and I'm tons of fun, and I dress to a D. You see, I got more clothes than Muhammad Ali, and I dress so viciously.
That's the cover from the Sugar Hill Gang. It's Rapper's Delight, or instead you could have the original from Chic. Which one plays is entirely down to you. However, I'm sadly not psychic. You do need to get in touch and tell me which one you want to hear. Best way to do it, call, text or WhatsApp. My number is 07367 85 85 47. That's 07367 85 85 47. You can also get onto the live chat on Mixcloud as well. Search for a wee natter on there. You can even watch a radio show. It sounds confusing, but you also get to enjoy things like this from the specials. It's Ghost Town.
Coming like a ghost town.
Before I say a thing, I'll admit it's been a good decade or two since I have set foot in Coventry. I usually go past it at roughly 70 miles an hour down the M6, but even all that time after the specials released in Ghost Town, I could see the inspiration, let's put it that way. Covers versus originals. Where, for the first time ever, we've got a complaint about covers versus originals. Complaint's a strong word, but it has been pointed out that this is unfair to both the Sugar Hill Gang and Chic, as Monica Erickson says, but I'll settle for Rapper's Delight because it's more special, and Decade's Best Radio jumping in as well, going, I agree, I was thinking that as well. It's a bit unfair putting these two up against each other. I know, but that's part of the joy of covers versus originals. It's not always a one-for-one cover. We do have to enter the world of sampling and reuse and things like that. But it does mean that some of the decisions can be quite tough. But your votes have been coming in. Vicky saying cover, please. Claire Allen saying original. Cheryl saying original. Paul saying original. Decade's Best Radio landing on original. But there's still time to change the vote if you want to have your influence as well. If you need to hear what it sound like, this is the cover.
You see, I'm 6'1" and I'm tons of fun, and I dress to a D. You see, I got more clothes than Muhammad Ali, and I dress so vicious.
It's that one from that complicated car advert thing. It's Rapper's Delight, or instead you could have the original. It's Chic and Good Times. Which one plays is entirely down to you. The only catch is you've got to get in touch. I'm not psychic. My number is 07367 85 85 47. That's 07367 85 85 47. And while you're getting your last couple of votes in, this is the Blossoms. And there's a reason why I never returned your calls. 9 times out of 10, if I'm not returning your call nowadays, it's because you're a scammy call centre that was trying to get in touch with me and get on me to buy a whole bunch of gift cards to pay you for some made-up HMRC thing.
Covers versus originals.
Where you're making the life-altering decision between the cover version of Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang or the original, which was Chic's Good Times. We have had one last-minute vote coming in from Kim W. saying, cover please. We've added it to the votes, we've done all the tallying up, and is it enough to tip the balance over towards the Sugar Hill Gang, or will it be Chic? The winner today is, of course, Chic. Maybe you'll hear the cover by the Sugar Hill Gang Rappers Delight some other day. But in the meantime, enjoy this version. Third Eye Blind with the do song, or Semi-Charmed Life as it's better known, on a wee natter, where I've come across some rather troubling news this week. And I thought I'd better share it with you that apparently urban birds fear women more than men. And the problem is they can't explain why. The scientists have been looking into this. They've just learned that when it comes to feeding or approaching and all that sort of thing, urban birds, so that's birds that are hanging around in towns and cities like the one you might be listening to this show right now in, they're a bit more scared of women than men. So it got me wondering, what did you do to upset them? Although I'll admit, if we're talking about worrying, I was a little worried the first time because I misread the article the first time. I misread the headline and thought, hang on a minute. Birds are more worried about interacting with men than women. Does that mean I've got to dress in drag when topping up the bird feeder? Thankfully not. It means it's the other way around, and you might have to pop on a beard and a fake little bald patch on the head as well to top up the bird feeder or to get the birds to interact with you. There's a little bit of advice for you. I'm not sure how useful it is, but a little bit of knowledge about the natural world around you. I was about to say this is from Take That's Comeback, but they've gone away and come back and they're releasing new songs in 2026 again. I know it's absolutely confusing, but they are. That's from their 2010 era. Take That and The Flood on a Wee Nasser. We've just seen a message coming in from Decade's Best Radio saying, I stepped away for a second. Did you say birds prefer men over women? Now, I should stress, based on the accent, you may be thinking I'm talking about birds as in B-U-R-D-S, and we're talking about nightclubs. No, we're talking about the feathered flying ones, and they do apparently prefer men over women in urban environments, but nobody knows why. They've tried to research into it and can't figure it out. So if you suss that one, there's a research paper in it, and you can make yourself a couple of headlines in the process as well. You don't hear Barry White as much nowadays, do you? Still a cracking wee song, though. Let the music play on a wee natter. And as Paul points out, my Jenny says you're playing all her songs tonight. I didn't do it on purpose. It's by accident. In fact, you're enjoying it. That's brilliant. That's great. And on the topic of birds, that's B-I-R-D-S, the favoured ones, and apparently in urban environments, they prefer men to women if they're making a preference at all. Kim W. has been in touch to say men drop more crumbs, and that might be why. That's an interesting idea. I like that hypothesis. We're going to have to do some testing. A, to find out if men do genuinely drop more crumbs or women do. I guess we'll find out. And then on top of that, is that enough to convince birds to come a bit closer and eat with you more often? It does sound like a fun little experiment. We need to try that out. And while we're thinking about that and talking about animals and food, I was on my travels recently up north of the border and encountered, and you're going to think I'm making this up, a fish restaurant. Right next door to it was an aquarium. Genuinely, seriously, fish restaurant, aquarium. No gap in between. They're just buildings. They're next door to each other. Now, I don't want to make any acquisitions here. Accusations even. I'm not planning on making any acquisitions either. I don't have the money for it. I'm not making any accusations, but do you ever imagine there was the discussion at some point that, that exhibit's not doing so well? Maybe there's time for a new special on the menu. And while you're thinking about that, here's the feeling. And never be lonely. You're never lonely listening to Wee Nasser. All this discussion of animals, especially birds, as we found out they prefer men over women, has got me wondering about what is the flakiest, crumbliest food we could possibly get. Is it going to be a shortbread? Is it going to be a pastry? Is it something like that? It's got to be something the birds are interested in. What can we use as the experimental baseline food that will demonstrate whether the birds are interested in men or women or not? Well, we're having a wee think about that. In just a second, we're going to do Mission Musical Freedom with a little throwback to the 1980s and a rock band that you've probably not thought about since then. After this one from Roxy Music from the same year. It's More Than This from the album Avalon. Roxy Music, More Than This on a Wee Nasser. We were turning into proper scientists trying to figure out what food is the flakiest, crumbliest thing we could possibly put out there to test whether the real scientists are onto something by saying birds are more interested than men and women. And Paul's been in touch to say flaky pastry sausage roll would be a good suggestion because I always get into a mess. Yeah, you cannot eat one of those without half of it being left as crumbs. That's why when you go into these bakeries, you look at the calorie count on things, a sausage roll is quite a low number. It doesn't make any sense till you realise you can't actually eat half of it. And it also touches Decades Best Radio saying, I would say any type of cake or muffin would be pretty crumbly. Although we'll have to think about, possibly turning the birds obese by accident if we're going to give them lots of cakes and pastries and things like that. So it's nice ideas. We'll see how it goes in reality.
Mission Musical Freedom.
And this is a bit of the show where I sneak a wee song on the radio that the bosses don't want you to hear, because they want you to hear the very big, popular songs, but there's a whole world of music out there, including songs where you go, oh, I've not heard that one in a wee while. Oh, I forgot about that one, that's amazing. And this week we are going back to the 1980s with a rock band that happened to have the same name as a Canadian rock band. I am, of course, talking about FM. Yeah, we're going to stick FM on the radio. I don't believe it either, but we're going to be playing a song from them. And in case you're not familiar with them, they wrote a bunch of songs in December 1984, landed them a record contract pretty quickly, and in that same month, were off on tour with Meatloaf. That's a pretty cool music career, a pretty cool way to start things off. They were active through the 80s and 90s, died off a little bit, came back in the 2000s, and are still bobbing along, doing bits and bobs. So of all their songs that you might or might not have heard of, I've gone for That Girl, and I bet you've not heard it for a wee while. It's our Mission Musical Freedom song on a wee natter this evening. A bit of Snoop Doggy Dogg, Pharrell Williams, that name sounds familiar, doesn't it? And Uncle Charlie Wilson, Beautiful before that. FM and That Girl, our Mission Musical Freedom track. You'd have thought the fact I came up with a feature I'd be able to say it. I'm an idiot. I keep coming up with things I can't say on the radio properly. And it turns out you are not idiots. You are true scientists and currently trying to figure out the sort of food that we should be offering birds to figure out if it's really true they prefer men over women. And Kim W has been in touch saying, a Greg's sausage roll flakes more when they're hot. I have tested this. Maybe I am to blame for the crumbs. And also pointing out that our birds eat anything but pasta. Why would the birds not be interested in pasta? It's got delicious sauce on it. Who wouldn't like it? Argonath also in touch asking, do birds like sausage rolls or do they just like crumbly food? And Paul points out that seagulls around us will eat anything, even cat crunchies the wife put out for the local cats. Yeah, seagulls will just, you're not wrong there with eating anything. They'll even eat it while it's still in your hands, as anyone that's been to the seaside will confirm.
The Super Shonky Sunday Quiz.
A Wee Natter with Jenny and Mark Steele.
Indeed, it's time for the quiz that is so cerebral it consists of just one question and so high budget the prize consists of if you get the answer right or if you're a bit more like me. And this week we are borrowing our question from the 2000s pack of the Trivial Pursuit mini pack. So we're going back to the millennium-ish when I ask you in 2009... which tech company introduced the Wave, an advanced email system that was abandoned just 1 year later? Funnily enough, I've got an email account with this company. I've had it over 20 years now. It's kind of worrying, the fact I've had one email address for so long. And also, I do remember when they introduced the Wave, and I didn't use a single part of it. So, in 2009, which tech company introduced the Wave, an advanced email system that was abandoned just 1 year later? If you've no idea, just guess random big American tech companies. Well, it's not going to be a British one, is it? We haven't invented anything in a good wee while since, I don't know. Ooh. I was about to say we never invented anything. Tell a lie. We're very good at inventing things. We're very bad at turning them into products. Just look at ARM, for example. We have to hand that over to someone else to do it. We invented all the stuff and we hand it over. But anyway, yes. Guessing random tech companies. If you want to get involved, call, text or WhatsApp. My number's 07367 85 85 47. That's 07367 85 85 47. And while you're getting in touch, here's a wee song from Elton John you don't hear too often. It's Nikita. Nikita. It was only many years later that somebody pointed out to me, Nikita could be either male or female. There you go, Elton John on a wee NASA with Nikita, where we are still somehow on the topic of birds and trying to figure out why they prefer men over women. And I've just seen a message in the chat describing seagulls as... And if you recognise that noise, it's A, because you had a Nintendo Wii, B, you played the Wii Fit game. Well, it's not really a game. You had the wobble board thing that you stood on. And that was a noise when you were on the heavier end of the spectrum.
The Super Shonky Sunday Quiz.
A Wee Natter with Jenny and Mark Steele.
Well, we're asking a tough wee question this week as we go back to 2009 and asking which tech company introduced the Wave, an advanced email system that was abandoned just 1 year later. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a techie guy, and even I wasn't interested in it. It's just all too complicated. It wasn't worth the effort. And a few of you have had guesses, including Kim W. shooting for Apple. I like the thinking, though. And Paul saying, my Jenny says Yahoo. That was the one with the yodeling, wasn't it? Yahoo! Sadly not right either. Although, I will admit, I did have a Yahoo email account at one point. Yeah, that's how old I am. And he's also saying, just for you, Mark, it's still raining up in Scotland. Yes, thank for that, although admittedly it's raining down here in the Midlands as well. But if you know in 2009 which tech company introduced the Wave, an advanced email system that was abandoned just 1 year later, then do get in touch. The best way to do it, call, text or WhatsApp. The number's 07367 85 85 47. That's 07367 85 85 47. That's exactly what Vicky has done, saying BlackBerry. I like the thinking there as well. And I'll admit, I had a couple of BlackBerries as work phones. They were not the most robust thing in the world. I kept breaking them. It was either I broke the speakerphone, I broke that little, I don't know what the word for it is. I want to say nipple. The little controller thing that you used to scoot around. And I also remember having to write apps for it many, many years ago. So I like the thinking, but it's not BlackBerry. It's one of the other big tech companies. But which one is it? I'll reveal the answer after this one from Empire of the Sun. We are the people. A bit of Empire of the Sun on a wee NASA where lines are now closed.
The Super Shonky Sunday Quiz.
A Wee Natter with Jenny and Marc Steele.
With an alarmingly tough wee question. I might have to see if we can land an easier one for next week so we don't all feel so bad about it. Because I'm realising that, it wasn't the most memorable thing in the world. I probably only remember because I've seen the answer, if I'm honest with you. But anyway, we were asking in 2009, what tech company introduced the Wave, an advanced email system that it completely abandoned 1 year later? And we've had a couple of last-minute guesses come in, including Decade's Best Radio with Microsoft, and Paul saying Jenny's been in touch as well, saying Google. Which is spot on. Yes, it was Google Wave. And yeah, I only vaguely remember it. I just remember I wasn't interested in it. And on that note, here's something you are hopefully interested in. It's the Source and Candy Statin. And you've got the love and a wee natter. It's amazing how just mentioning Google has brought some memories up, including Decade's Best Radio saying, I don't even remember Google Wave. I must have slept that year. Yeah, it was a very short-lived thing. And it's kind of funny. There's an entire website, and I'm not making this up, there's an entire website dedicated to all the things that Google has killed off over the decades, all its short experiments or much-loved things that it's bought or built or whatever, and gone, nah, we're not interested in that anymore. There's an entire website filled with tombstones celebrating the years that, you know, the likes of Google Wave existed. And Kim W. also in touch saying, I still have my Google Mail email from 2008, so they must have bought that out swiftly afterwards. Yeah, Google Mail. I remember when it very first came out, it was an invite-only thing. Do you remember that? You might or might not, depending on what circles you moved in, because the more tech-leaning circles, everyone was trying to get an invite to Google Mail or Gmail or whatever they were calling it at the time. And I'll admit, I got one of the invite codes, and I did get it while it was still an invite-only thing. Although by that point, I think basically if you had a pulse, you could get an invite. It wasn't quite so exclusive at that point. And talking about exclusive, if you've been keeping an up to date on the news, you will know that the Bank of England are in the processing of designing a new set of banknotes. And rather than putting the faces of historical figures on the notes, which it could be problematic at times, I guess, they're going down the route of going with animals. Yeah, I'm allergic to the talk of animals. That's what that is. No, I'm allergic to nonsense. Back on topic. Bank of England, they're designing new notes with animals on them. And they need your suggestions as to which ones they're going to go with. Now, they've made a short list. And when I look through the short list, I'll be honest with you, it doesn't set the world on fire. I mean, looking at mammals, the options that they're getting us to choose between are a bottlenose dolphin. Okay, that makes some sense. A brown hare, a European hedgehog, a grey seal, a pine marten, and a red fox. And I'm thinking about that going, okay, fair enough. I could see the hedgehog working because, you know, it's got all that road safety connection and things like that. But where is the angry badger that's going to pick a fight with you? If we're going to do the full British animal experience, we've got to have things like that. I mean, we look at the birds. They're offering things like puffin, which you just think of clowns. They're just too comedic, unfortunately. A barn owl? Okay, you know, I could get on board with that. A kingfisher? I mean, when's the last time you actually saw a kingfisher? And if you ever have seen one, it was probably just as a streak of blue flashing into the water, wasn't it? You didn't actually just see it sitting there perching somewhere, did you? A Eurasian curlew? Yeah, I've no idea either. A woodpecker? Or even a white-tailed eagle. Now, the problem with going with an eagle, I know it's not the right eagle, but if you go with an eagle, it's got that American thing going on, isn't it? Yeah, I'm not sure we could put an eagle on there. And also in the final category, amphibians, insects and fish, they're offering Atlantic salmon. I'm guessing not on a plate. I'm guessing as the actual salmon and fish. A basking shark. I have no idea why we're looking at sharks for the British seaside, but there you go. A buff-tailed bumblebee, a common frog, an emperor dragonfly, or a marsh fertility butterfly. Are there any animals that we should have had on that list that haven't made the list? Other than me saying that we need some angry badgers on there. There's bound to be some you sit there going, how did we not get a shrew on there? How did we not end up with eels? You know, they're a big deal down in London. The Bank of England's based in London. Surely they should be putting eels on it. I mean, I've just seen a message coming in from Paul saying put Sooty, our cat, on the £20 note. I like the idea. The only problem is they're not accepting write-in options. So maybe what we need to do to get Sooty on the notes is we write it in and they go, we can't do it this time round. Then we figure out how to forge those banknotes. And because we're forging them so well, they need to put a new design together, and that gets Sooty on the £20 note. What do you think of that idea? R.E.M. and The One I Love on a wee nasser. Before that, about 10 seconds of Beyonce and all the single ladies. I've no idea why that happened. Maybe it's all sorts of weird things happening because I'm a bit tired because I had to do all sorts of crazy stuff today and in the week. And lots of driving, and I'm just a bit knackered. Maybe that's what it is, or maybe I'm just a bit rubbish. You can make that decision. And we're talking about the Bank of England new notes and who should be on them or what should be on them. And I've had another suggestion coming in from Monica Erickson saying Sooty, our cat, should definitely be on a note. I love that idea. I'm going to pass it by Sooty before I make the suggestion to the Bank of England. The only catch is she hasn't dropped by to say hello yet. Maybe she will in a few minutes, who knows. But while I'm dealing with that, you get to enjoy James Blunt in 1973. James Blunt on a wee natter, where if you're having a bit of trouble sending messages on the live chat, that's through Mixcloud, where you can watch the radio show. Search for a wee natter there. It turns out you might not be the only person having trouble with messages. Argonaf22 finally managed to get in touch saying the message system is playing up. I can't manage to agree with Alfie Cat and Monica, meaning that I couldn't send a message to agree with these people. And it took several goes to send just this one message. So it turns out there might be a little bit of trouble on Mixcloud. Keep an eye on that. There are other ways to get in touch. If you are struggling, you can call, text or WhatsApp. The number is 07367 85 85 47. That's 07367 85 85 47. And while I was out and about, I was in a supermarket the other day and ended up in the clothes section. Can you tell Jenny was involved in this bit? Yeah, I don't normally go into the clothes section myself, but Jenny took us into there because she was looking for something. Fair enough, it's what happens. And I came across, as we were passing from the men's section, a shirt with two breast pockets. It was sort of a grey-blue in colour, and it caught my eye because I didn't realise that the Chinese Communist Party / Chairman Mao look was back in fashion again. Fashion's so cyclical, isn't it? Well, big collars are going to be back in again before you know it, aren't they? So it got me wondering, is there any fashion that you're hoping for the return of? Because there's all these fashions that we all got into when we were younger that you're like, I never want to see that again. It was a thing when I was younger. I'd be quite happy for it never to be a thing again. But it must be the odd thing where you're like, it'd be really good if that came round again. If that could come back into fashion, I'd love it. And the way to get in touch with those comments, best way to do it, call, text or WhatsApp. Number is 07367 85 85 47. That's 07367 85 85 47. You can also try the live chat on Mixcloud. It might or might not work. You might need to bash the send button a few times, but I'd love to hear messages either way. And while you're getting in touch, this is a bit of Prince. Well, actually, it's the whole of Prince. It's a little bit of his repertoire. It's Little Red Corvette on a wee natter. That's Prince and Little Red Corvette on a wee natter, where we're on the topic, and you won't believe it's me saying this, but we are on the topic of fashion, because when I was out and about in the shops the other day, I came across a jacket. I'm assuming they were selling it as stylish or trying to pitch it as some sort of, I don't know what they were trying to pitch it as, but when I saw it, it took me straight to the Chinese Communist Party or a bit of the old Chairman Mao's about it. I don't know what it was. The jacket just looked like that, and it got me thinking, fashion's so cyclical. What are the things you want to see come back? Not the things that we go, oh, it was great at the time, but if we never see it again, I'd be quite happy. I'm talking about things where it's like, oh no, we need to bring this back. And a few of you be in touch, including Decade's Best Radio, saying, I like denim jackets. Not sure if it's made a comeback or not, but I'd be up for that. Yeah. Now, denim jackets, I don't have a problem with, but is double denim going to make a comeback? Because that's very 90s, isn't it? Have a think about that one. Also in touch is Paul saying Levi Strauss pale blue hoodie in the late 70s, early 80s. I loved mine. Although, I do have to ask, did hoodies ever go out of fashion? I think they've always been in fashion in some way of fashion. Although if we're talking about things that are definitely out of fashion, I do remember one place I was working at going, oh, we need to give you all uniforms so that, you know, people that are around the organisation know that you're part of this department. I'm like, oh, this is not great. And they were talking about branded T-shirts and how it's going to be really, and we thought, great. That means every time we go out into the wider area, we're going to get stopped by somebody going, oh, just a second. The greatest way to kill off that conversation, if you want a wee insider tip, start suggesting branded shell suits. Try saying that one twice in a row. They'll go off the idea completely. And finally, Kim W. in touch saying, hard no to ever getting into a rah-rah skirt again. I will take your advice on that one, Kim, and assume that it's definitely a hard no. And on that note, that's about it for me. We'll be back same time, same place next week, hopefully in full force with Jenny as well, back from her cake eating training and competition, hopefully with a trophy in hand as well. Whether she's got a trophy or not, I'm going to leave you with a fantastic wee song from the Cars. It's You Might Think on a wee natter. Catch you next time.